name's Sophia Schussler. This is my comprehensive marketing research report on GoPro for Marketing 325. So I focus on GoPro action cameras for my product, and they focused on 20 years of innovation in Stoke. And they state that GoPro has changed how we capture the world. These are just some of their general features, which include rugged and durable, always waterproof, pro quality resolution, and Emmy-winning video stabilization. Now, while these features are key to GoPro, these also make up most of the main features of any action camera. As for my executive summary, is that GoPro holds 47% of the global action camera market. However, they still face growing competition from brands such as Insta360 and Akaiso. And this research used social media listening in a 53 response survey to evaluate consumer sentiment, target market characteristics, and purchasing criteria. So the target market mainly includes those aged 18 to 34, and mostly male. Those who are active in outdoor sports are travelers, and we're also seeing a higher level of content creators. As for competitors, like mentioned, this includes Insta360. The thing about Insta360, they're a much newer action camera company. However, they have a lot more innovative features compared to GoPro. And this really includes things like live streaming and 360-degree footage. One of the respondents actually in our survey noted that their friend has an Insta360 action camera and they envy every type of shot that their friend can get with it. And themselves being a GoPro customer, they feel that they can only do boring first-person view. So this is one way that Insta360 is really bringing a competitive edge to the market. And then on the other side, there's Akaiso, which is the budget-friendly alternative. So one of the main things they even note on their website is that this is the affordable action camera, and specifically the best GoPro alternative because of the affordable price, but also all-around choices for daily vlogging, sports and outdoor activities, so on and so forth. However, GoPro still does have its strengths, which include things like brand loyalty, quality, and durability, which we will go over further, along with their challenges, which, like mentioned, does include the innovation lag, high prices, and poor international customer service. And as you can tell from the difference in price, the average GoPro costs around $300 to $400, whereas the Queso camera on the website typically costs around $150. We then conducted social media listening and gathered our main insights. So the social media listening was really about looking over at all different platforms that contain users of GoPro. And for these, we looked at Reddit, Instagram, we looked at TikTok, finally Amazon, and the official GoPro website. And what we found after analyzing all these sites with their GoPro customers is that males really dominate online commentary, with 64% of our insights and and of the female customers, out of the ones that we reviewed, almost half were purchasing for sons or for significant others. So there was a lot of mentions of purchasing GoPros for birthday gifts, and generally just not for themselves, but for someone else. So I found this really interesting when looking over the social media listening insights. I've also noticed this with several other brands like Yeti coolers. Just find it very interesting to see how much males really dominate their customer base. Then I also noted that US and Canada are the leading regions. However, global sentiment really does vary, which we'll go over a little bit further, and this stems from poor customer support outside of the US and Canada. There was also really big tone shifts within each platform that was analyzed. So for Reddit, there was a lot more loyal and detailed reviews. So this included things like getting into the heavy specifics of the GoPro camera and really trying to help people out with the workings of their camera, tips and tricks. and generally things of that matter. As for TikTok, as well as Instagram, this held the younger demographic and also the higher level of content creators, about 64% combined. And their comments tended to be more emotional and seemingly trend driven. So it seemed that their comments either were trying to over negatively harp on GoPro or over praise to um, gain some sort of attention. I think one reason for this is, yet again, because of the demographics. However, I think it's also because GoPro is such a UGC or user generated content based brand. So when people really try to reach out to the brand, they will gain traction to get back. For example, there's a lot of people that are sponsored by GoPro or gifted GoPros because, yet again, GoPro is a type of brand that really looks to use UGC as part of their marketing strategy. And then also Amazon and GoPro were a little bit different from Reddit and TikTok. So Amazon had more neutral reviews. Some were a little critical, but generally people weren't looking to gain much attention on Amazon, so they stayed pretty unbiased. As for the actual GoPro website, there's a good bit of perceived bias. So on Amazon, the lowest reviews went down to 1, but on GoPro, they stopped at 3. They didn't go any lower than 3. So it's important to note when looking at GoPro during social media listening that there might be some bias when it comes to the comments that are made. As for sentiment, and key pain points, positive sentiment typically included strong brand nostalgia, reliability, great video and stabilization quality, and positive sentiment was at 58%. Negative sentiment, on the other hand, included things such as battery life, limited customer service outside of the US, high pricing and app limitations, and lack of innovation, especially when compared to Insta360, and that was at 33%. 9% just represents those that had neutral sentiment. So these were the top customer priorities we found after doing the survey and the social media listening. And this includes image and video quality. So this was the most praised and most expected feature. So even though it's an action camera that's going to be put in extreme circumstances, customers still want that great image and video quality. Next up is durability. And this is cited as essential for the reason that it is an action camera, and it is essential for extreme sports and conditions. Next is innovation. Customers did seem to expect cutting edge features, which is why a lot of GoPro customers in our survey and social media listening did say they actually switched to Insta360. Next is brand loyalty and nostalgia. Many people noted that they buy GoPro just because it is GoPro. And this really revolves around the fact that people have owned these for a long time and they generally just really like the brand. Next up is battery life. This was noted as top priority. However, GoPro was underwhelming in meeting that priority. So there's repeated complaints, especially when it came to being in very cold weather or diving at deeper depths. Next up is price. The price was viewed as high in a lot of social media listening, and affordability is definitely rising as a concern with the customers, especially since there's so many new cameras that come out, and customers noted that they just need to keep buying new cameras, and it's really driving people away from GoPro. Next is customer support. So like we mentioned, international service is a major pain point. And with a camera brand that's so global, this is something that GoPro could really work on because people view this as a top priority. I mean, there was people that mentioned that they have a media degree and they still have trouble understanding all the features of GoPro. And when you have people spending a greater deal of money on a product that has more advanced features, you really need to be able to support them and not just leave them with a product. So the key recommendations after doing the entire report, the social media listening, and creating the survey and analyzing it. Um, the three main recommendations include enhancing innovation to remain competitive. So this means not getting butted out by brands like Insta360. So really just finding new ways that they can keep their technology at the most relevant to really stay at the top of the market. Next is expanding international customer support. So one of the main reasons for this is because so many GoPro customers really put all their love and support towards GoPro. However, a lot of international customers feel like it's not given back that support. So they're really going to lose a lot of, this could possibly lead to losing customers. And when it really comes to growing your market, you want to be able to expand into other regions, and other cultures. And when you just don't have that customer support for them, they feel left high and dry and frustrated. And many people noted that they were upset that they wasted hard-earned money on these cameras and um, could never actually have the support system of GoPro. And finally, the third is to launch inclusive marketing campaigns. So one of the biggest competitive edges of GoPro, one of the biggest things that differentiates GoPro from other brands is the connection they have to people. So one of the biggest ways that GoPro could possibly foster that great connection is through inclusivity. So connection is something that is really stemmed by being inclusive of others and telling and welcoming them, no matter who they are. And one way is to really do this while also sticking to the fundamental values of GoPro is through Indigenous storytelling. So just to go through this a little bit more, um, they could create a lens of legacy campaign. And this is preserving, sharing, and empowering. So GoPro should reinvest in one of its greatest strengths, which is its deep connection with adventure-driven communities. And by amplifying underrepresented voices, particularly those of Indigenous people. These communities hold rich traditions in outdoor survival, navigation, and storytelling that aligns with GoPro's mission. And by collaborating with Indigenous creators and organizations, they can help preserve cultural practices while reinforcing its brand as authentic and purpose-driven. And this strategy would deepen emotional loyalty and differentiate GoPro through real meaningful content, not just curated highlight reels. Um, so the main point of this campaign is to not just, gain greater support for GoPro, but really follow through with its fundamental values, which is helping people tell their stories. Um, and GoPro does a lot of nonprofit work and really helping communities. And I think this is really one way they can continue to do that. And it's definitely something that is needed. There was actually um, one Indigenous leader who really helped. What he did was use technology to really help his tribe, you know, be able to really stand through entering the modern world and keep their culture and traditions and be seen by others and be respected. Um, and he actually co-produced The Territory. And what he stated was that historically, the stories of our people were told by outsiders. Now we are using technology to tell our own stories, to show the world who we really are. So it's noted by several Indigenous organizations um, that technology is really helping to preserve culture and to create mutual respect between Indigenous tribes and people who are and other people. So the final takeaways from this entire research report is that GoPro must continue evolving with its audience's expectations. And by improving global access, supporting storytelling, and enhancing affordability and innovation, GoPro can retain its leadership in the action camera market. So these are really some things that GoPro could work on, as well as just furthering their research on their market, their target market, the action camera market, and really sticking to their fundamental values.